Hello and welcome to FedBiz 5. I'm Sam Fields. Let's start with the honest version. AI is no longer just a shiny technology trend in federal contracting. It is becoming a buying category. It is becoming a cybersecurity concern. It is becoming a compliance issue. And for small contractors, it is becoming one of those moments where you can either get ahead of the curve or spend the next couple of years wondering why the solicitations suddenly got harder to answer. Because here's what's happening. The government wants AI. Agencies want faster analysis, better cybersecurity, smarter automation, cleaner data, better mission support, better decision-making, all of it. But at the same time, the government is also nervous about AI. And honestly, it should be. AI tools can expose sensitive data. They can create bad outputs that sound confident. They can be vulnerable to bad inputs, bad data, model manipulation, and sloppy governance. So now federal buyers are saying two things at once. They are saying, bring us AI, but they are also saying, prove it is secure. Prove it is governed. Prove the data is protected. Prove your people understand the risk. Prove this is not just someone plugging a public AI tool into a government workflow and calling it innovation. That is the opportunity and the pressure point. And for small businesses, the opening is not always in building the giant AI platform. The opening is often in the layers around AI. The data layer, the cybersecurity layer, the implementation layer, the governance layer, the training layer, the documentation layer. That is where small contractors can still break in. So let's talk about where this is showing up. AI in federal contracting is not always labeled as AI. Sometimes it shows up as data modernization. Sometimes it shows up as cybersecurity automation. Sometimes it shows up as fraud detection, records management, help desk automation, predictive maintenance, threat detection, logistics, or decision support. So if you are waiting for the solicitation title to say artificial intelligence contract, you may miss the actual market. The AI opportunity is often buried inside normal government needs. A data platform with AI-enabled analytics, a cybersecurity operations requirement with machine learning detection, a cloud support contract that needs governance and compliance controls, a training requirement that includes AI literacy, a modernization project asking for responsible AI adoption. That is the thread small businesses need to follow. The buyer may not say, "We are buying AI." They may say, "We need better decision support," or "We need to automate manual review," or "We need anomaly detection," or "We need secure AI-enabled workflows." That is the language to watch. Now, here's where cybersecurity enters the room. AI and cybersecurity used to feel like separate conversations. One was innovation, the other was compliance. That separation is disappearing. Federal buyers are starting to understand that AI is only useful if the data, system, model, cloud environment, and user access are trustworthy. Think about it this way. If an agency uses AI to analyze sensitive case files, acquisition records, health data, threat intelligence, or mission information, the question is not just, does the tool work? The questions become, where does the data go? Who can access it? Can the AI be tricked into revealing something? Is the system monitored? Is there human review? Is the cloud environment authorized? Does the contractor understand controlled unclassified information, or CUI? That is why AI-adjacent work is starting to sound like cybersecurity work. And it is why cybersecurity contractors who understand AI may have a real opening. Not because every agency needs a custom model, because every agency using AI needs protection around the model. Now, let's define something that sounds technical but really matters in proposals. AI security layers. When I say AI security layers, I am not talking about one tool or one product. I am talking about the protections around an AI system so the government can trust it enough to use it. First, there is the data layer. What data is being used? Where did it come from? Does it include sensitive information? Is it allowed to be used in that workflow? In solicitation language, this may show up as data governance, data protection, privacy controls, CUI handling, records management, or data lineage. Second, there is the access layer. Who gets to use the tool? What can they upload? What can they see? What can they export? This may show up as identity management, zero trust, role-based access control, audit logs, and continuous monitoring. Third, there is the model and application layer. Can the AI be manipulated? Can bad data affect the output? Can the system produce unsafe recommendations without a human catching them? This is where buyers may ask about AI testing, validation, verification, red teaming, reliability, and responsible AI. Fourth, there is the cloud and infrastructure layer. Where does the AI run? Is it in a secure cloud environment? Does FedRAMP matter? How are logs protected? How are vulnerabilities patched? And fifth, there is the human oversight layer. Who reviews the output? Who approves decisions? What happens when the AI is wrong? Can the agency explain how the tool was used? That may show up as governance, auditability, transparency, human-in-the-loop review, or standard operating procedures. So when you hear AI security, do not just think firewall. Think data, access, model behavior, cloud security, monitoring, documentation, and human review. That is the real buying language. And here is the good news. Small contractors do not have to own the entire AI stack to compete. You can win in one layer. A small contractor can help with data cleanup and data readiness. And that is a major need because AI is only as useful as the data underneath it. A lot of agencies still have messy data. Duplicates, old records, inconsistent fields, scanned documents, siloed systems, missing metadata, the whole thing. Helping an agency inventory, clean, label, organize, migrate, or govern its data may not sound as exciting as building AI, but it is often the work that makes AI possible. Another entry point is cybersecurity support for AI-enabled systems. That can include vulnerability management, access control, monitoring, incident response planning, CUI handling, cloud security, and compliance support. If you already support cybersecurity, do not ignore AI. Start learning how AI changes the risk model. Because agencies will need contractors who can say, yes, we understand traditional cybersecurity, and we understand the new risks around AI-enabled workflows. Another entry point is AI governance and documentation. This is a big one. Agencies need help writing policies, usage guidelines, risk assessments, training materials, governance checklists, and audit-ready documentation. That does not always work for a giant integrator. A small consulting firm with strong compliance, risk, privacy, IT governance, or cybersecurity experience can bring real value here. Training is another opening. A lot of agencies are being told to use AI, but their people need practical training, not hype training, real training. What can employees upload? What should they never upload? How do they check AI output? When does a human need to review the result? How do they document AI-supported decisions? That is useful work. And then there are niche mission applications. This is where specialized small contractors can really shine. If you understand a specific agency mission, like healthcare administration, logistics, grants, inspections, benefits processing, facilities maintenance, or environmental monitoring, you may be able to help apply AI in a narrow, practical way. Not AI for the whole agency, more like AI-assisted document review for this one workflow, or anomaly detection for this one dataset, or predictive maintenance support for this equipment environment. Federal buyers do not always need a moonshot. Sometimes they need a specific problem solved. Now, let's talk about the pressure side, because this is not just opportunity. There is real compliance weight here heading into 2026. First, CMMC. If you are working in the defense market and you handle CUI, CMMC matters. And for AI-adjacent defense work, it may matter even more because AI projects often touch sensitive data, technical data, operational data, or mission data. If your cyber house is not in order, you may not even make it to the real conversation. Second, FedRAMP and cloud security. If your solution is cloud-based and federal data is involved, FedRAMP may come into play. FedRAMP is the federal authorization program for cloud products and services. So if your AI tool lives in the cloud, integrates with a cloud platform, or stores federal information in a cloud environment, the buyer will care about authorization, security controls, continuous monitoring, and where the data lives. Third, data rights and vendor lock-in. Federal buyers are paying attention to whether they can access their data, move their data, compete for future work, and avoid being trapped in a black box. Small businesses can use this to their advantage. If you are flexible, transparent, interoperable, and not trying to lock the agency into something they cannot control, that can be a selling point. Fourth, respond to RFIs. This is huge. If agencies are still shaping requirements, your response can help influence the acquisition strategy. Do not just say, "We are interested." Say, "Here is the risk we see. Here is how small businesses can support this. Here is where the scope should be clear. Here are the controls that matter. Here is our relevant experience." That is how you sound like a partner instead of a vendor. Fifth, get serious about your own cybersecurity. You cannot sell trust if your own house is messy. Multi-factor authentication, access controls, cyber policies, incident response plans, CUI handling if applicable. Vendor management, security awareness training. Not glamorous, necessary. Now, if you are listening to this and thinking, okay, but how do I find these AI-adjacent opportunities before everyone else does? That is where FedBiz 365 can help. FedBiz 365 helps contractors surface relevant federal and SLED opportunities, track buying patterns, identify agencies and buyers connected to your capabilities, and manage your pipeline in one place. And for this topic, that matters because AI work does not always announce itself clearly. It may show up as cybersecurity. It may show up as data modernization. It may show up as cloud support. It may show up as training. It may show up as governance. It may show up inside a larger IT requirement. FedBiz 365 helps you find those patterns faster and focus on the opportunities that actually match your business. If you want to see how it works, call FedBiz Access for a free demonstration. So let's bring this home. AI, cybersecurity, and federal buying are converging. That creates pressure, yes. More compliance, more scrutiny, more cyber expectations. More questions around data, governance, cloud security, and human oversight. But it also creates real opportunity, because small contractors do not need to own the entire AI market to win. You can win by securing AI. You can win by preparing data for AI. You can win by training agencies to use AI safely. You can win by documenting governance. You can win by supporting compliance. You can win by bringing mission expertise to an AI-enabled project. The clear takeaway is this: do not chase AI hype. Chase the secure, practical work around AI adoption. That is where small contractors can still break in. Thanks for listening to FedBiz 5, and until next time, stay focused, stay ready, and keep winning in government contracting.